Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 333 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger, one of my best friends in the world. It is of course Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how are you doing this week, my man?
I'm good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. Always good when speaking with you. There's a lot to go over, man. There really is. There's upsets. There's bad, poor officiating once again. It breaks my heart to say. We're going to start here, though, with one of the many upsets of the weekend. It took place on Friday, last Friday, February 25th. We're in March now. It's amazing how quick everything's flying by. But let's go to this one. It took place at the White Sands Event Center in Plant City, Florida, USA. So yeah, main event actually as well. I said it on last week's show. I gave it a mention. I didn't expect much from this fight card. I didn't actually tune in, but I saw the result. Kana Islam, who is an undefeated fighter. I said I think he was. I can't remember where he was born now, but I think he's got the citizenship from Kazakhstan. He's been moved around. Anyway, 28-0, bit of a padded record. He got in there with Jimmy Kelly, who again, didn't mean any disrespect, but said he's probably one of the worst world title challengers in recent years. He got stopped by Liam Smith. Anyway, he got in with Kana Islam and managed to upset the odds. A majority decision win over 10 rounds there for the vacant WBO global middleweight title. Very surprised that they actually gave it to the away fighter in a close fight like that. Again, I didn't see it. Maybe it wasn't close at all. But Jimmy Kelly was over the moon. And that is a huge, huge win for a guy really that I guess kind of needed a win. Because he's 25-2. Now he's 26-2. But his career just isn't going anywhere. Former world title challenger. Doesn't have a contract with a big promoter, with a big network, and he's kind of had to just take the hard path, I guess. He got his chance at a world title, wasn't nowhere near that level. Perhaps he's gone away and improved, and yeah, it's a sensational win, so I'm pleased for him, and I gotta say, I did not see it coming at all. Moving out now, another big upset that I only just learned about this week, because I didn't even, I forgot it was on, I didn't tune in, I didn't watch it, and I'm literally reading it now, and I heard about it just a few hours ago, so I haven't seen the fight. If anyone's seen it and wishes to share their views on the fight with me, please send it in. Guillermo Rigondeaux losing out in Dubai at the Dubai Marina. Rigondeaux now 20-3. A unanimous decision loss over 10 rounds against the completely unknown Vincent Astrolabio, who's now 17-3. Rigondeaux was even down in round 8. It was for the vacant WBC International Bantamweight title. Again, I have no comment on it, but I'm absolutely shocked to see this. Again, Rigondeaux is one of those Cubans who have, the question marks over their age and stuff like that. But to lose to a completely unknown guy when Rigondeaux was, a very good world-level fighter and, very hard to beat. And even in his last fight, I mean, many people thought he won that fight. That was at world title level there. To lose to this guy and get dropped as well, I'm completely shocked reading that. Oh boy, I kind of have been dreading coming to this card. The SSE Hydro, Glasgow, Scotland, United Kingdom. This one over here, of course, live on Sky Sports. Let's please start with the undercard, because that is somewhere I think, will be a positive start at least. So a win for Nick Campbell in a fantastic heavyweight fight against Jay McFarlane. Nick Campbell now 5-0, still undefeated. Jay McFarlane 12-6. Unbelievable the amount of weight he's put on, by the way. He was down in round 7, and yeah, TKO'd. It was for the vacant Scottish area heavyweight title. That's the first time that belt has been contested for in over 70 years. So they've got a Scottish heavyweight champion now. That man is Nick Campbell, I think a former rugby player. Regis Ramirez picking up a TKO in round 3 against Eric Donovan. Eric Donovan now 14-2. Regis Ramirez now 9-1, his 10th pro fight. He looked very good. I think the money for him to get the stoppage win was pretty much free money. It was printing money. And he had him down in the first round. And strange finish, really, in round 3. It looked like the shot clipped Eric Donovan in like the shoulder, but he was kind of ducking down, so it was kind of weird, the angle, but it looked to me like he hit him in the shoulder, but apparently, and it must have been, I think it hit him in the temple because his balance was all over the place. And yeah, Ramirez just had way too much class. It was a bit of a mismatch, and I couldn't believe that some people thought that Donovan had a chance or the odds were kind of close. Yeah, so I bet on Ramirez for the stoppage. John Doherty with a win as well, now 12-1, a KO in round 2 against Jordan Grant, who's now 4-2. A draw on the undercard as well between Ebony Jones and a lady called Eftichia Kafapuli, who's now 4-3 with a draw there over 6 2-minute rounds. And yeah, the main event, Josh Taylor now 19-0. He's somehow kept his O. A split decision win over 12 rounds against Jack Catterall, now 26-1. Both guys friends of the show. Scorecards 113-112 for Jack Catterall from Howard Foster, 114-111 for Josh Taylor from Ian John Lewis, and 113-112 the scorecard from Victor Lachlan of Scotland. So yeah, Taylor was down in the 8th round and he had a point deducted in, or just after, I think it was round 11, like in between rounds, so it counted as round 11, and Catterall had a point deducted, which shouldn't have even been a point deduction, by the way, I didn't feel, in round 10. So the fight itself was a real shocker, because I've got to say it, I didn't give Catterall much of a chance at all. I thought that maybe Taylor would stop him, but my kind of heart of hearts pick was that Josh Taylor would win on points. And Josh Taylor's a guy that receives high praise, you know. We say him and Tyson Fury, doesn't really matter which way round you put it, they are the two best fighters pound for pound in Britain. Catterall, a guy that's kind of had to wait patiently. He's been around the block. He's done a lot of sparring with various different people around the country, around the world, I should say. He's mixed it with Canelo, mixed it with Floyd Mayweather. However, he has managed to compile a record of 26-0 up until the weekend without really kind of having the big mega fights. You know, he wasn't a household name. He's not a household name. You know, his best win was probably O'Hara Davies, something like that. You know, for his record, he was kind of padded, I've got to say. You know, to get to 26-0 and have the best guy on your record as O'Hara Davies, no disrespect to O'Hara Davies, but, you know, it wasn't amazing. And Josh Taylor is the complete other way round. I mean, 18-0 he was, and in his 18 fights, there's, you know, about 10 of the opponents, or well, that's maybe a stretch, about 5 of them are better than O'Hara Davies. So everyone favoured Taylor to win the fight. Some people thought it was going to be easy, some people thought it was going to be a bit tight, but pretty much no one, you know, was favouring Catterall. Anyway, Catterall starts the fight excellently. He was outboxing Josh Taylor, and it was clever. When Josh Taylor was coming on the inside, he would tie him up. You know, he was outboxing him, not like hugely, like putting a dent in him kind of thing, but just doing enough. Very clever, very clever. You could see that he was kind of, you know, not overusing any energy, and he was thinking about the later rounds as well. You know, it's obviously a championship fight. When he drops Josh Taylor in round 8, it was like a chopping left hand. I was stunned because Taylor, you know, has been in there with you know, big punchers like, you know, Ramirez, like Prograis, certainly. Oh my God. Never really been hurt by these guys, and Jack Catterall doesn't, apparently he's a big puncher, but his record doesn't suggest it massively, and especially at this kind of level, there's no proof of him being a puncher whatsoever. So he puts Taylor down. As we know, I think Taylor had been struggling with the weight. I mean, I'm not making excuses, but I think, he had been struggling with the weight, fair enough. But, there's nothing to do with Catterall. Catterall gets credited with a knockdown. It's a great knockdown. I was shocked at the defence of Taylor all night pretty much. I'd never seen his defence so leaky. The straight 1-2 from Catterall's southpaw stance. Obviously it was southpaw versus southpaw, but that straight 1-2 pretty much worked every single time. A lot of people had it 5-0 after 5 rounds to Jack Catterall. I wasn't strictly scoring it, but I think I had it about 4-1 to Catterall, something like that. Then, of course, that leaves 7 other rounds. That's round 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So that's 7 other rounds. A lot of people, like I say, had it 5-0 for Catterall. So those other 7 rounds there, one of them is a knockdown round in round 8. Let's just pretend that happened in round 6, right? So we've got it 5-0, or let's just say 4-1. Let's say 4-1 to Catterall. I think that is the best case scenario, in my opinion, for Josh Taylor, giving him 1 round in the first 5. I don't think you could have given him 2. Let's just give him. Let's see how we get on. Let's give him 1 round. So 5 rounds have been elapsed. It's 4-1 to Catterall. Going into round 6 now, let's pretend that the knockdown happened there. So it happens, now Catterall all of a sudden isn't 4-1 up, he's 6-1 up, right? Because it's a 10-8 round. So then Josh Taylor would need 2 rounds, he'd need to win 2 rounds in a row to cancel out that knockdown, that 10-8 round. I hope I'm not confusing people here. So let's say he takes round 7 and 8. So now we've got 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 4 rounds there. There's a point taken off in one of the rounds. Let's pretend that was the next round. A point was taken off of Catterall. Then the following round, a point is taken off of Josh Taylor. So they both cancel themselves out. Then it leaves 2 other rounds. Let's just give them both to Taylor. He still loses the fight there. He still loses the fight by a point, and that's the very best you can give him. I've seen people, all over Twitter going absolutely crazy. There's a pub, a local pub to Jack Catterall's changed the name of the pub, and they've changed it, I believe, to Catterall's Arms or something like that. The uproar after this has been incredible. Literally everyone has gone crazy, and I'm talking about the most proudest Scottish people. There's people that are, on fight week were saying some crazy things, saying, Brooke Khan happened last weekend. All the English people loved it because they're both English. Now the very next week we've got a proper fighter here, an undisputed world champion. Where's the hype? Why does no one care? Is it because he's Scottish and not English? I don't buy that stuff for a moment. I just think Brooke Khan are both, huge names, way bigger names than Josh Taylor, unfortunately, and that's both of them are bigger than Josh Taylor. Brooke is a bigger name than Josh Taylor, certainly worldwide. Certainly in England, to be honest. I mean, he's been in there in big pay-per-view fights on not terrestrial TV, on pay-per-view. He's been in there with Golovkin. He's had the rivalry with Khan, which, having a rivalry with Khan makes you big anyway. So those two are huge names. Jack Catterall he's not even invited to the party. He's not a name at all going into this fight. So it's just literally Josh Taylor's fan base. So it was nowhere near the same kind of fight. Hence the fact it wasn't on pay-per-view. Josh Taylor, is he a better fighter than Khan and Brooke? Absolutely he is. Absolutely. Certainly at this point in their careers. I mean, he's a tremendous fighter. But he doesn't have the same appeal to the casual fans. He's not as big of a star as those two guys. And he didn't have the right dance partner in Jack Catterall for the fight to be bigger. So some people just seem to have a problem understanding that, thinking it's some kind of racism because he was Scottish or something like that. I'm not buying that for a second. That's my opinion. You can agree or disagree, whatever. They get it on. Obviously, it takes place in Scotland. The crowd is with Josh Taylor. Jack Catterall has been waiting 3 years, 3 years for his shot. He's been in that number 1 position for 3 years. He even agreed to step aside while Josh Taylor, unified the belts with the other undefeated champion, Jose Ramirez, back in May. He took step-aside money. He flew out there to the US, watched the fight ringside, on the promise that he would get the shot at the winner. Obviously, Josh Taylor wins the fight, and then the fight comes around. So 3 years he's been waiting. And we know every single boxer, when they walk into the gym for the first time, their dreams to become a world champion. He gets a chance to become the champion of the world with 4 different organizations, all 4. So he doesn't get a chance to become world champion, but undisputed world champion. This is incredible for him. He's waited 3 years, gets a chance to fight for the undisputed world titles. Obviously, if you win the fight, your next fight, you're making mega money, life-changing money. You'll never need to work again in your life. Your kids will never need to work in their lives. And he goes over to Scotland, puts his undefeated record on the line, and gets completely and utterly robbed in what I would say is one of the worst robberies I've ever seen. It's certainly top 3. And I watch a lot of boxing. There's some horrendous robberies I've seen over the years. This is one of the worst I've ever seen and ever will see. And like I say, it speaks volumes when the proudest and most passionate Scottish boxing fans and ex-boxers, I don't want to say any names, are actually saying, as proud as I am as being Scottish, I cannot understand that decision. I cannot be biased on this one. I can't be silent on this one. I've got to speak up and say there's no way in the world he won the fight. It was disgusting. Josh Taylor straight away said, I'm going to be moving up. So that means he's going to be vacating all 4 belts. They're all going to go 4 separate ways. Even if Jack Catterall, on the back of this, on the back of the backlash, is mandated to fight for one of the vacant titles, it's not the same. It's not the same at all. Really, he should be right now, as we're speaking, he should be the undisputed, undefeated super lightweight world champion. And in his next fight, he would be making millions. But instead of that, he is probably suffering with mental health problems right now. He's devastated. He's in disbelief at what's happened to him. You know, the whole world is reaching out to him from all over the world. I'm not just talking about UK and Scotland and, Britain. I'm talking about America. Anyone that saw the fight is it's gut-wrenching just watching the fight, let alone imagining how this young man must feel. So he's had his dream ripped away from him, his undefeated streak ripped away from him, and millions of pounds ripped away from him, all in one evening, in front of absolutely everyone. Thousands and thousands of people that were there in attendance, that watched it on TV, that have watched it back on YouTube. The entire fight is on YouTube. The whole world has seen what's happened to him, and nothing is going to happen to make up for what he's suffered. Nothing's going to happen at all. The best he can hope for is that he becomes mandatory for one of the 4 titles, and he gets paid, I don't know, maybe 100,000, something like that, for a world title, for a vacant world title fight, if he's lucky. Again, I said he's not a big name. His followers have shot up after this, and he deserves that. But there's no consolation for what he's going through right now. There's nothing, actually, that can be done. The only thing that could have been done is Josh Taylor could have given him a rematch. That's the very least I think he should have done. And a lot of people are saying if he's a true champion, even if he is struggling with the weight, you've got to do it. You've got to do it, even to yourself. Because afterwards, in the ring, Josh Taylor said he thought he won the fight. And he said, I think Jack Catterall knows that he didn't win the fight either, It was just, I couldn't believe that he acted like that, to be honest. There's no way in the world that he can truly believe that, especially if he watches it back. But yeah, I am not on board with some of the abuse that's gone to Josh Taylor. It isn't his fault. The judges scored it that way. He did his job fighting in the ring. His family, his wife, they've had death threats. They've got children, young children. They've had death threats. They've had to, suffer heaps of online abuse from everywhere, really. Some vile things have been said. I can't get on board with that. That's just dead wrong. But yeah, this is the kind of reaction that people are having here to this disgraceful robbery that obviously wasn't Josh Taylor's fault, I must reiterate, but this is how bad it's hurt people that are not even involved with the sport of boxing. They don't even know Jack Catterall personally. And I've interviewed Jack Catterall, I think, twice, since I've been doing the podcast, only twice, because his career's been, a little bit slow and steady. And I was absolutely gutted for him. I was left speechless. Ben Shalom, the promoter of the card, actually said he felt embarrassed and angry and said he wants to do everything he can to try and put it right. I don't know if they can put it right. We know how the organisations are, the WBO, WBA, WBC, IBF. I can't see them all agreeing with the same thing. They never have historically. And I don't know what's got to happen here, but it was disgraceful. I could talk about it all day. Just devastated for Jack Catterall, I hope he's okay. I really hope he's okay, because I'm going to just say it, and it's deep, but I feel like, people commit suicide every single day for much less than what that man must be feeling right now. His whole world has been ripped apart in front of the world, and there's nothing that can be done to get that moment back. It's never going to happen for him. So, devastated. I'm angry talking about it now, to be honest with you. I can't even remember my train of thought. I've completely lost my head. But, disgraceful. Terrible officiating once again in Britain. Robert Smith has come out, the British Boxing Border Control director, has come out and said that he watched the fight. He felt that Jack Catterall nicked it, but it wasn't a robbery in his opinion, which pretty much to me translates to nothing's going to happen to these judges and they're going to be free to make terrible mistakes once again. And I don't even want to bring you in on this, Eddie, because I know that you've talked to me before. You're very passionate as a fighter against these officials that just sit there watching a fight from one angle of the ring, and whatever they write down on their piece of paper completely is life changing for both men in the ring. It can go bad, it can go good. Someone has to lose a fight, of course, but we see it almost week in, week out worldwide, at least once a week. A shocking scorecard that ruins somebody's life and takes away their livelihood.
100%, man. It happens. I mean, I don't got to go in on the fight. I don't really have to talk about it. But yeah, it's so unfortunate, man. You put so much effort, so much work into these fights, and then you go into the fight, do the job. All your hard work is paid off. You feel like you've done what you needed to do to win. Everybody else in the arena thinks so. Most people on earth think so. But then all of a sudden, you get these 3 people or 4 people or whatever the number of judges is, 3 people in this situation that see the fight in a different way, or let's just say 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how is that possible? How everyone across the globe seen the fight one way and then these 2 people didn't. It just makes you it's you got to start looking at corruption, man, and what's going on with these things, and it just really gives the sport what they call black eye. Makes it rough. You know what I mean? It's just like you can now say, okay, well, I'm fighting, but I don't know if I'm going to win. You know what I'm saying? Even if you know you're going to win, you're the better fighter. You know what I mean? But you don't know you're going to win. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like after my fight with Tomas, I felt like I did enough to win. I felt like I did what I could do, all I could do, but then the rest of it's in the hand of the judges. And it's so unfortunate that we sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. It's sad, and it hurts. It truly does hurt the sport.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you do get any time to watch that fight back, it was infuriating, and I'm just lost for words. I remember when it happened freshly, I was in such a shock, I just froze. I couldn't speak. I picked up my phone because instantly I'm going to tweet my reaction to what's gone on. I do that sometimes. I pick up the phone, send a tweet, and I didn't even know what to write. I just picked up the phone. My fingers just froze as well, and I was just in disbelief. I didn't even know what to type. I was It was almost as if I had been on the end of the robbery. It was just. Even now, I'm lost for words. And I just feel so sorry for Jack Catterall. Man, I don't even know what to say. we'll have to leave it there. We'll have to move on. But, man, I don't know what to say, man. And as for Josh Taylor, I mean, he's going to move up to welterweight. If he's going to be that kind of fighter at welterweight, then his days are numbered because, he didn't look the same guy. Like I say, it probably was the weight, playing a part, the weight cut or whatever. Even though it's funny because before the fight, he tweeted a picture of him weighing in for the Ramirez fight, which is his last one, which he became the last one before this, which he became undisputed. A picture of him at the weigh-in. And a picture of him at this weigh-in for this fight against Catterall, and he looks way more ripped, way more in shape, and he actually said, I've done the weight right this time, and wait until you see me tomorrow night and how strong I'm going to look. And he looked the weakest he's ever looked in terms of his performance. Jack Catterall's tactics, though, I mean, unbelievable game plan, I think, from Jamie Moore as well. I mean, wow, hats off to those guys, round of applause to those guys. But yeah, they executed an excellent game plan. I think Jack Catterall, some of those people saying he didn't do enough in the later rounds, are you kidding? He didn't need to do anything in the later rounds. He actually just needed to stay on his feet and not get knocked down pretty much from round, certainly when we got to round 8. I mean, again, 5-0 or 4-1 after 5 rounds. Even if he lost a couple rounds in the second half of the fight, or even 3 or 4 or 5 rounds, whatever, he still managed to, of course, get a knockdown in round 8, which, by the way, I think the judges scored that a 9-9 round as well, by the way, which you don't see often at all. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. So, yeah, terrible. But, yeah, even if he did take his foot off the gas, he could afford to. The fight was won. As soon as he got that knockdown in round 8, the fight was won. He didn't need to do anything in 9, 10, 11, 12. As long as he didn't go down on the floor. And bear in mind, in 9, 10, 11, and 12, he got a 10-8 round because of a point deduction. And Josh Taylor got a 10-8 round because of a point deduction. That only leaves 2 other rounds. It was impossible to give him the fight. But they've robbed him. And I don't know what to say. Is it corruption or just incompetence? I don't know. It's got to be one of them though, because it's, honestly, a chimpanzee could have scored that fight right. But moving on, moving on to out to the States now. I'm gonna have to take a sip of water here, Eddie, because I need to cool down. There we go. I'm back. Okay. Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas in Nevada, USA. This one on Showtime, the PBC here. Some crazy upsets actually on the card. Let's talk about the undercard first, though. Friend of the show, Gary Antoine Russell, going in with a record of 14-0, 14 KOs. We had him on last week's show. He got in there with former WBC world champion Victor Postol, 31-4 now. It was for the vacant WBA Continental America's Super-Lightweight title. Gary Antoine Russell now 15-0 with 15 KOs. A TKO in the 10th and final round. Only about 30 seconds left in the fight. Gary Antoine Russell did hurt Victor Postol with a shot, but Victor Postol was completely clear-headed, and it was an absolute stinker of a stoppage from the referee there, Michael Tegger. A disgraceful stoppage. It was so bad, and it really annoys me because Victor Postol was okay the entire fight. He wasn't hurt or anything like that, or buzzed the entire fight. This is a guy who's never been stopped. He's been in there with Josh Taylor, been in there with Ramirez, been in there with Terence Bud Crawford, and he's getting in there with Gary Antoine Russell, who's a friend of the show, who I wanted to win the fight, but it seemed to me like the referee just wanted Gary Antoine Russell's knockout streak to keep going, because the stoppage was terrible. There's 30 seconds left in the fight. Guy's never been stopped. First time he's been hurt in the fight and you've jumped in, and as soon as he jumped in, Victor Postol's looking at him in disbelief, the referee, like, what the hell are you doing? And of course, right after the fight, Victor Postol has got to fly back to the Ukraine, strap up and start defending his country. And I think his wife and I think his twin sons are right there in Ukraine, obviously, where it's a very dangerous place to be right now. So, yeah, even the fact that he had the fight, he probably shouldn't have been in that ring. But to see him get stopped on a BS stoppage, like as if this guy hasn't got enough rubbish going on in his life right now, that made me a bit sick, to be honest. And I do like Gary Antoine Russell, as I said. I'm happy that he's still 15-0 with 15 KOs, still got the 100% knockout streak, but I don't think he deserved a stoppage win based on what we saw there. He may well have completely swarmed him in the last 30 seconds and got the stoppage, and then great, it would have been a really good stoppage, and it would have been fantastic if it was a legitimate, unarguable stoppage, but it wasn't. He was still on his feet, for God's sake. He got kind of staggered into the ropes a little bit, and he was completely clear-headed. It was terrible from Mike Ortega. Elsewhere on the card, Jerwin Ancajas lost his IBF World Super Flyweight title against the completely unknown, undefeated Fernando Martinez, who's now 14-0. Another complete shocker. Not sure what's happened with Jerwin Ancajas. That's the second time he's lost. 33-2 with 2 draws. I think there was a few fights on the horizon for him. I think he was linked. I'm sure it was Ancajas who was it him who's been. It was one Filipino who's been linked with the Nonito Donaire fight. I'm sure it was Ancajas. No, it was John Real Casimero, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, anyway, Ancajas loses his world title there. Doesn't seem like the same kind of fighter that we saw a few years ago. I think he fought Jamie Conlon. He looked really good there. Anyway, moving on, another shocker. The main event, Chris Colbert, 16-1. He was supposed to be fighting for the world title, but of course his original opponent, the world champion, pulled out the fight. In stepped a late replacement who only had about 3 weeks' notice, Hector Garcia, who was undefeated. And it turned out that, he was a bit better than we all thought, because no one really knew who he was. He's now 15-0. He had Colbert down in round 7. 16-1 now, Colbert. Looks like he probably won't get that shot to fight for a world title now. I don't think he deserves it. Maybe a rematch can go on here, but almost lost every single round to Hector Garcia, and being dropped like that as well. I mean, I am shocked. I actually fell asleep during this fight, not because the fight was boring, but I just fell asleep. I was tired, and the fight wasn't overly exciting, but I fell asleep about 4 rounds in, and Colbert was losing everything. I was like, whoa, like what's going on here? So credit to Garcia, and hopefully he gets something big off the back of that. Maybe signed to a nice big promoter or something to be nice. This one took place on Sunday at the O2 Arena, Greenwich, London, United Kingdom. Let's talk about the undercard first. Campbell Hatton with a win. He's now 6-0. A good win, actually. A TKO in round 6 against Joe Ducker, who's now 9-9 with 2 draws. Dempsey McKean of Australia with a win, now 21-0. A win there against Ariel Bracamonte, former Dave Allen opponent. He shut him out over 8 rounds on points there, Dempsey McKean. Fabio Wardley with a win over the American Daniel Martz. Fabio Wardley now 13-0. An actual KO in round 2 against Daniel Martz, who's now 20-10 with a draw. Martz came and had a good go in the first round, landed some big shots on Wardley. I was thinking, whoa, are we going to have an upset here? But then in the second round, as soon as he pretty much got hit with a good shot, he took a knee. And I thought, oh my God, he's actually going to stay down. It was a little bit Eric Molina-esque. And he got back up, and then he pretty much quit when he got hit again. So I'd say a little bit of a quit job. And someone on Twitter said to me, maybe they should make the fight between Daniel Martz and Eric Molina next. And I chuckled because that's exactly what I was thinking when it happened. So I like that fight. It would be funny, and I'd sign up for it because I like weird fights. Elsewhere on the card, Galao Yafai made his pro debut, the Olympic gold medalist. He is now 1-0. A TKO in round 5 against Carlos Bautista, who's now 10-5 with a draw. It was scheduled for 10 rounds, but he didn't need all 10. He managed to do it in 5 for the vacant WBC International Flyweight title. Anthony Fowler with a win as well. He was able to beat Lucas Masik, who's now 27-4 with a draw. Anthony Fowler now 16-2, I believe, coming off that loss to Liam Smith in what was a really good fight. He was a tough guy, that Polish guy here. Karim Guerfi as well, defending his EBU European featherweight title against Jordan Gill. Gill down once in round 7, and Guerfi knocked out in the 9th round by Jordan Gill. I tell you what, this fight here was another one that really, if you haven't seen it, you probably should have a look at it. The reason I say it is because you won't see many comebacks like this very often. You don't see many comebacks like this very often. One thing I just want to say, though, is that Lee McGregor stopped Karim Guerfi back in 2021 in one round from body shots, right? I think it was from body shots, but he stopped him in one round. The very fight after that, Karim Guerfi goes away and wins the featherweight European title 2 weights up. So he moves up 2 weight classes, wins the European title straight away in the next fight. He wins, an EBU European title back. And it was against Andoni Gargo, who's not a bad fighter, the Spaniard. He's not a bad fighter, but I just couldn't believe that he even had the opportunity to become European champion in the fight after losing in one round for the European title at 2 weight classes up. So I don't know how he managed to pull that off. And I was thinking, hang on a minute, he lost the European title in a round to Lee McGregor. So how the hell is he European champion again? Where did that come from? I forgot this fight had took place because it was a bit of an obscure card down in Marbella, and it certainly wasn't televised in the UK or anything like that. But he managed to pick up the title on a split decision. Anyway, he comes back against Jordan Gill. Jordan Gill, I think, has his limitations a little bit. Another guy who kind of reminds me of Zelfa Barrett, the way he padded out the record, then had a step up and got annihilated, really, from an unknown Mexican fighter, Mario Tinoco, and then he blamed it on having food poisoning. Okay, we'll let him off there. Come back with a good few wins, looked okay again, but when he stepped up to this kind of level again, he was found in a world of trouble against Karim Guerfi, who, when we get the measuring stick out, got blown away by Lee McGregor. So straight away, Jordan Gill is struggling in this fight big time. And there was a point where he's pinned on the ropes, his legs have gone because he's been hit on the chin flush so many times, and his face is blowing up. Like his face, both eyes are swollen, one of them is almost shut and it's getting kind of hard to watch. And he's pinned on the ropes, and his trainer, Dave Caldwell, is saying, stay on the ropes until your legs feel okay again. So he spent about 2 or 3 rounds just literally standing in the same position on the ropes, trying to parry the shots, trying to avoid the punches that were raining in on him. And his opponent, Karim Guerfi, was just completely going for it, throwing the kitchen sink. And I guess, in a way, he did end up rope-a-doping him. And I don't like to use the rope-a-dope when it's not done as good as Muhammad Ali. That was the real rope-a-dope against George Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle. There's nothing been quite like it since. I don't think Muhammad Ali was on the verge of being stopped. He wasn't being hit clean. A lot of the work from George Foreman was to the body. But here, this guy's face was busted up. That's not the same as Muhammad Ali. His face wasn't busted up. And literally, they were on the verge of stopping that. And it was terrible. And he was taking big shot after big shot after big shot. Karim Guerfi was winning the fight, and then off the ropes he comes with a huge right hand, and Guerfi pretty much walked into it, and that was the end of the fight. So it's one of the most craziest comebacks in a fight. It reminded me a little bit of Andy Lee against John Jackson, if people remember that one. That's one of my favourite comeback knockouts ever, when Andy Lee kind of gets staggered into the ropes on the other side of the ring, and John Jackson walks straight over to him in a straight line and gets pelted with that devilish left hook that Andy Lee possessed. Oh man, it was disgusting. Was it a left hook or was it I think it might have been a right hand. I can't remember now. But anyways, unbelievable. So yeah, Jordan Gill's comeback knockout was certainly one to watch. And the main event, Lawrence Okoli, now 18-0, a unanimous decision over 12 against Mikhail Cieslak, the Polish fighter, now 21-2. Very, very tough guy. Been the distance now with Lawrence Okoli and Makabu. Down in the 5th round, it was a short kind of right hand to the chin. He went down on one knee and got straight back up. It was that kind of knockdown. It didn't seem like it bothered him too much. I don't think he was really overly hurt. Obviously, a defense of Okoli's WBO Cruiserweight World title. Very pleased with Okoli. He's gone from being a fighter who no one really liked watching fight because it was, just grabbing and stuff like that. He loved a clinch and stuff. And since he's gone with Shane McGuigan, he's actually turned into quite an exciting fighter. But there were times in the fight where he got hit. He got hit quite flush by this guy, who, by the way, I think he's a good fighter and I think can come again. But Lawrence Okoli just seems to be, for me, improving all the time. And I'm happy to see his journey unfold. I quite like Lawrence Okolie. I remember picking against him when I thought Isaac Chamberlain could beat him. But, to think where he's gone from, the journey he's been on since then to become world champion. Obviously, we know his journey famously started working in McDonald's. He was like a young chubby kid who got, I think, bullied for his weight or whatever. And then he goes on to be like this tall, I want to say skinny, this tall, long, lanky, 6'5", cruiserweight who, of course, has got a huge punch, went to the Olympics on barely any amateur experience, turns pro, wins a world title double quick, and, everything's going fantastic for him. So I'm pleased for him. I'm really pleased for him. And it was a great, great win against a good, tough fighter. And I think it's the kind of fight he will learn a lot in, especially if they're talking about the Maris Bradis fight next for Lawrence Okolie. That is the fight to make at cruiserweight. And I would love to see it. I think I'd probably favour Bradis over him, to be honest with you. But this is the kind of fight that I think he would need to bank these 12 rounds to be ready for someone like Bradis. And I tell you what, he's got the size, he's got the punch power. We're going to see. The game plan, I think, will be very important against Bradis. And Shane McGuigan is, he's probably one of the best, or is one of the best, to put the plan together. But yeah, that's it though for the review part of the show. It's been quite long. The final thing for me to do in part one is to welcome our special guest this week. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBA Super-Lightweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Regis Prograis. Regis, welcome back on the show, my brother.
Yeah, brother, what's up with that, man? Thanks for having me back on, bro. How's everything?
Everything's good, my friend. You're part of the furniture. You're on the intro every week, so of course it's always a pleasure having you on. So Regis, we last spoke back in March, obviously 2021, almost a year ago, just before that fight on the Jake Paul undercard against Ivan Redkach, the crazy fight that thankfully got changed into a knockout win for you. Since then, though, Regis, everything's moved a bit slow, hence why we haven't spoken. What's been the reason behind that?
I mean, I don't know, bro. I think, I guess trying to find the right way to go, I guess. It was a lot of things coming my way, and, we had just, a lot of deals and a lot of offers and stuff coming my way, but it just, nothing seemed like, I don't know, there was the right thing to do until, the whole Probellum thing came along, and, they told, for me, my main thing is that I want to be active, and, nobody could promise me that I'm going to be active, so, when the whole Probellum thing came about, because they told me three things. They told me I'll fight for a world championship again in 2022. I'll stay active, and I'll fight all around the world. And that's three things that I definitely want to do. So, and especially of course the staying active part. So I think this year, 2022, I'll definitely be moving way quicker. I'll basically be catching up for lost time, I think.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. I was going to ask, obviously, you had just one fight in 2020. I mean, some people didn't even fight, so you can't read into that too much. It was a crazy time in the world. Obviously, one fight in 2021. I was hoping that we are going to see you at least 2 times in 2022. It sounds like that. Let's talk about this upcoming fight, Regis. It's been made. You're going to be boxing. You spoke about fighting around the world. First stop here, Dubai, March 19th against Tyrone McKenna. How much do you know about Tyrone McKenna, Regis? Because if you didn't know anything about him, you were perhaps a matchmaker. You looked at his stats and saw that he's a 6'1" southpaw at 140. Some people would say next, but you've taken this fight, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, listen, bro, for me, I told you I want to be a world champion again, so it doesn't matter the name. Whoever they put in front of me, that's who I'll fight. I don't care. I just want to be a champion. So that's the name they gave me. So it's all right, that's cool. That's the name. They told me I could fight him. And then I think the whole thing came about it was when, of course, me and Josh Taylor, we go at it on Twitter sometimes, and I think I said something about Josh Taylor, and then he kind of jumped in. He said something, and I was just like, who the fuck is you? And then that's kind of when, that's when I found out who he was. And, I think it was a few months past, and, my manager told me that's who I might fight. I was like, shit, all right, let's make it happen and make the fight happen. And at first, I didn't know if it was going to really happen or not, but, it seemed like it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if I'm not making this up, I'm pretty sure I saw you tweet something that think you'd gone to Dubai and said it's one of your favorite places. Am I making that up?
No, you definitely not making it up, bro. I mean, Dubai is fire. Dubai is definitely like it's just a real nice place in Dubai. So just to be fighting over there, bro, like I just, I can't. It's definitely a special opportunity for me, and I just, can't wait to go over there again.
Yeah. Because I think if I'm not mistaken, I saw you on the beach, a picture of you on the beach or something. But yeah, of course you're going back there. You're going back there now for business. Talking of Tyrone McKenna, he's been down before off of body shots. Obviously, him being tall, you being a lot shorter than him here. Sometimes hitting a tall, skinny guy to the body is a great idea during a fight. Will we see you go into that body with your famously very hard hands?
Oh no, you go straight. You don't know how to go on. You can go both, but straight. My bad. People don't know directions in the car over here in LA. But nah, man. Yeah, whatever he gives me. I mean, body, head, whatever. I'm just gonna. For me, I go out there and I do me. I do what I gotta do, and it doesn't matter. Where I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit him somewhere, and it's gonna hurt. Wherever I hit him, it's gonna hurt him.
Okay. And I heard at one point that you were perhaps moving up to welterweight. Is that not happening now, or did I hear that wrong?
No, I don't. Yeah, you definitely had to hear that wrong, cause I'm staying at I told everybody, man, my goal is to be a champion again at 140. Before I go up to 147, my goal is to be a champion at 140. So yeah, I'm not even thinking about that until I become a champion at 140 again.
Okay, I think a lot of people were maybe for some reason linking you with a fight against, I think it was Crawford at 147. I don't know where it came from, but maybe
I don't know what. I think Bob Arum said that, man. Bob Arum was like, yeah, he can fight Crawford. I was like, I don't know what the hell Bob talking about, because I ain't even going to 47. So Bob was just throwing names out there, I guess. But yeah, I'm not going to 47 until I be a champion to get at 140. And then after that, I'll probably go up to 147. But for me, man, it all depends, because right now it's a lot of smoke. It's a lot of big fights coming to 140. Right now, I think 140 might be the hot division. 47 was a hot division for a long time, but you got 140 is probably the next year, 2 years. 140 is gonna be hot. So, it all depends. I mean, I might stay at 140 or go to 147. But right now, before I even think about going to 147, I want to be a champion again at 140.
And you just mentioned there's some great fights taking place soon. I want to get your opinion on one here. Jose Ramirez, Jose Pedraza, 4th of March, the battle of the Joses. Who's going to be the best Jose?
Oh man, that's actually it's a good fight, man. It's a good tough fight for both of them. I think maybe Ramirez might be able to pull it off, but at the same time, man, that's a tough fight. So it's a good, I think it's gonna be a good entertaining fight and a good pretty even fight. But I Ramirez.
Yeah, Ramirez. A lot of people saying that. I just think it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back after his first loss. Also, on the undercard of the fight that you're having, a guy that I think you told me about a few years ago. I hadn't heard of him till you mentioned him to me. Shaquille Foster is on the card as well. He gets in with Mohamed Kuja Yakubov. A bit of a mouthful to say his name, but that guy Yakubov, I think, ranked number 2 in the world with a WBO at super featherweight. Is this perhaps going to be Foster's breakout fight on a worldwide kind of scale?
I spoke with him, bro, and I mean, this dude is like super talented, super special. So, yeah, I mean, I don't care who you put him in the ring with, bro. He's gonna like anybody. He'll beat anybody at that weight, whatever weight he's at. He'll beat anybody. Like, that's just how talented he is. So, you're hearing it first from me. He just, he needed the machine behind him, the marketing, more marketing and stuff behind him. But I mean, he's like super. I spar with him, and like he's way smaller than me, and like he'll give me trouble sparring and stuff. So that dude is like good, real good.
That means a lot coming from you. I remember you telling me about the guy a few years ago, and I remember looking up his record, and it wasn't the prettiest looking record, and I wondered if perhaps, his best work stays in the gym and doesn't really come out on fight night, but this is the kind of fight that I think will bring it out. It's going to be exciting to see his fight as well as yours. Just finally, Regis, as always, I like to throw it over to you if you've got any closing words, particularly to your fans here in the UK that you know firsthand absolutely love you. What's your closing message before we wrap it up, my man?
First off, man, I love my fans in the UK, of course. Always love my fans in the UK. Thank y'all for supporting me, man. When I came over there, people just showed me, the whole UK, they showed me a whole lot of love when I came over there. So I love the UK. I don't know if I'll come fight there again, but I would definitely come. I want to come there for a vacation. For sure, I want to come there for a vacation one day and just, highlight all my people out there. And I just, like I said, everything was cool, man. So like I said, thank y'all for supporting me, all of UK, everybody, all my fans, all that. And of course, I got bunch of love for the UK.
No, absolutely. And if you do come back for a fight, I think Lewis Ritson is a fight still there. Perhaps if you're coming for a vacation, I'll see you at the airport. Regis, right. I just want to say it's always a pleasure speaking with you. I want to thank you for your time. Best of luck, of course, for March 19th out there in Dubai, and I'm sure we'll speak sometime afterwards.
Of course. Thank you, brother. Have a good one, bro.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. It is official, April 23rd at Wembley Stadium. Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte on BT Sport box office. They're trying to expand the the number of fans that can attend. They're trying to get to 100,000. And there were tickets on sale this week. They went on sale on Wednesday. And someone put up a screenshot on Twitter. This is incredible, Eddie, actually. You're going to like this. They went on sale, I think, maybe 12 noon or 12:30, something like that. Someone I know went on the ticket website, Ticketmaster, and joined the queue of people queuing up to buy tickets. But the problem is he had done this an hour and a half after they'd gone on sale. So obviously, lots of tickets would have been sold in the first hour and a half. So he joins the queue an hour and a half later. So let's say this is, 2 o'clock, something like that. And he was in the queue and 167,000 people were in front of him on the queue. So it would appear that it's going to sell out. We shall see. There's a lot of window shoppers. We know this. I don't know why they join the queue and make it trafficky for all the people that want to buy tickets. But, there's going to be people on there, of course, buying. No one's going to just be buying one ticket. So if everyone bought one ticket, they would already sell out 150% of the arena. But no one's going to be going on their own. People are going to be going in groups of, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Who knows? Lots of people are going to turn out for it. Will it completely sell out on the night? I'm not sure. I don't think so. To be honest, I actually don't think they're going to sell it out. Tickets start at £55 at the very top of the stadium in the worst view possible, and you're going to need binoculars in Wembley Stadium to see the ring. But hopefully there'll be a big screen, and of course it's going to be massive atmosphere. And if you were going to be staying at home paying £25, then you've saved that by going to the arena and watching the fight live. So take that away from the £55, and you've paid £30 on top of what you'd have paid if you stayed indoors to be there. So it's a choice you can make. But again, I think all the tickets have quote unquote sold out, I believe, and people are already, of course, reselling them. But anyway, mega event, and it's fantastic for that fight to take place. It is one of the biggest fights that can be made in heavyweight boxing, especially in the UK, and it's great to have it here in London. Canelo Alvarez has signed a multi-fight deal with Matchroom and DAZN. Of course, he is signed straight away to fight Dimitri Bivol for Bivol's WBA light heavyweight world title. That one to take place on May 7th. What else do we have? Miguel Berchelt as well, returning to the ring, I think, for the first time after losing his not losing his he already had a loss, didn't he? But he lost to Oscar Valdez. He got knocked out in the most brutal knockout of 2021. He gets in with former world title challenger Jeremiah Nakafila, who of course Shakur Stevenson boxed, I think it was early last year. So this is Miguel Berchelt's chance to come back with a bang, and if he stops Nakafila, he does something that Shakur Stevenson didn't do, because Stevenson didn't put him away or really even hurt him at any point in the fight. So Berchelt can come back and look good there with that opponent. That one is March 26th. All the best to Nakafila, the Namibian policeman who owns a pub. We've had him on the show before. Cool guy. That's it for the news, though. Moving on now to the preview part of the show. Just 2 cards to mention. They're both in the States. This one takes place on ESPN+. Let's start with this one. It's actually Friday night, so tomorrow night, and on the card we have friend of the show Hector Tanahara, 19-1, coming off that loss to William Zepeda. He's in an 8-rounder against Miguel Contreras, who's 11-1. It's a good fight there, by the way. Also on the card we've got Gabriel Flores Jr., 20-1, getting in with Abraham Montoya, who's 20-2 with a draw. We've also got Joet Gonzalez, former opponent and the brother of Shakur Stevenson's ex-girlfriend. Joet Gonzalez, 24-2. As I say, that was quite confusing. He's the brother of Shakur Stevenson's ex-girlfriend, and of course they both famously fought for a world title in which Shakur Stevenson beat up his girlfriend's brother for the world title. Unbelievable. He's since left her, got with a new lady, and has had a baby. Anyway, he gets in, Joet Gonzalez, with João Santissima, who is a former opponent of Emmanuel Navarrete. Yeah, Emmanuel Navarrete. He's 21-3. That one over 10 rounds could be interesting. But the main event is the battle of the Jose's. Jose Ramirez, 26-1. Coming off his first loss as a pro, losing back in May to Josh Taylor for the undisputed titles. In that unification for all the belts in a 12-rounder here against Jose Pedraza, 29-3. A fighter I've always been high on, to be honest with you. I think it's a lot closer than people think. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how Ramirez comes back after losing, because he did lose. It was a close fight. He gave it his absolute all. It's not like he got battered, but he did get dropped a couple of times, didn't he, in the fight? So it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back as well, because Pedraza is probably the more experienced, been in there with some good fighters and stuff like that. Still only has that one stoppage loss to Gervonta Davis back in 2017, but he's been in there with the likes of Vasyl Lomachenko, and gone the distance with him. Been in there with Jose Zepeda, been the distance with him. And yeah, he's coming off a decent little run, to be honest with you. So I really like that fight, and I'd like to see... I don't want to say who I'd like to see win. I don't really care, to be honest. I think Jose Ramirez has done a lot for charity. I like him because of that, but I've got a soft spot for Pedraza for absolutely no idea why. So yeah, all the best to both the Jose's there. And this one takes place, a final card to mention. It's on DAZN Saturday at the Pechanga Arena in San Diego, California, USA. It's unfortunate, but it looks like I'm not going to have a chance to use any of my Mexican/Spanish pronunciation here. It's unfortunate this week. I like doing it. On the undercard, the debut of Australia's Sky Nicholson, who is a female fighter. A lot of people really like the look of her. She is having her pro debut here against Jessica Juarez, who's 3-0. That's over 6 2-minute rounds. Sky Nicholson is a little bit like the complete opposite of Ebony Bridges. Aside from they're both Australian, she is kind of, people, I say the opposite. People like the look of both of them, but Ebony Bridges, I think, is fair to say, is a lot more out there. I think Sky Nicholson's a lot more reserved. I believe she's moved to the UK now and is training full-time over here. Ebony Bridges seems to kind of go here, there, and everywhere. And by the way, Ebony Bridges actually blocked BoxHard Podcast recently on Twitter, and I'm not sure why. So, yeah. Sky Nicholson, I think, is the more professional, if I have to put my neck on the line, which I will. So, yeah. Mark Castro as well on the card, 5-0 in a 6-rounder against Julio Madera, who's 3-1. We've got Diego Pacheco, 13-0 in an 8-rounder against Genk Pilana, who is 9-3 with a draw. That one's over 8 rounds there. I want to see him stepped up. We hear great things about Pacheco. Still very young, but, I'm seeing a lot of these opponents that all have similar looking records, 9-3, 8-5, those kind of guys, Solomon Sissoko, 14-0. I'm wondering if he's still being managed. I think he was being managed at one point by Anthony Joshua. I'm not sure if that's still going on or if it's even the same guy. Anyways, this one's for the WBA Intercontinental Super Welterweight title. He gets in with Roberto Valenzuela Jr., 23-2. We've got Angel Fierro, 19-1 with a draw, fighting for the WBO NABO lightweight title against Juan Carlos Burgos, who's 34-6-2. We've got Mauricio Lara. This is the first time we've seen him since his I'm not sure if it ended in a no contest or a what do they call it? A draw. What do they call that again? Technical draw. I'm not sure if it was a technical draw or a no contest with Josh Warrington, but he's out here 23-2 with a draw in a 10-rounder against Emilio Sanchez, who's 19-1. And the main event is a fantastic fight. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, 50-3. Fighting Julio Cesar Martinez, 18-1 over 12 rounds. I thought there was going to be a belt on the line, but it looks like there's no belt on the line here. The fabulous thing about this is that Chocolatito, of course, was going to be fighting in a rematch with Estrada, wasn't it? Which was a fabulous fight of last year, but he was going to be having the rematch with him. And I'm not sure why he pulled out the fight. It might have been COVID, but in stepped Julio Cesar Martinez, who, of course, is the WBC flyweight world champion. So he's moved up here to Superfly for this one. And I thought that Roman Gonzalez had a world title, but no, he lost a split decision to Estrada. So no belt on the line, but it's going to be very, very, very interesting because the last couple fights, I got to say it, Julio Cesar Martinez, even though he's like a wrecking ball, and he really, really is, if you've ever seen him fight, he's just 100 miles an hour and he throws every punch with mean intentions, hasn't really looked as dangerous as he did maybe 3 years ago, something like that, 2-3 years ago. You know, when he had the fight with Andrew Selby, had the fight with Charlie Edwards, the fight with Christopher Rosales, he had the fight with Jay Harris, and that kind of was, I think, a little bit of the turning point, really. Went the distance with Harris, which was a bit of a shock. Harris performed out of his skin. But then since then, he had a kind of low-level fight against Moises Calleros, beat him early. And then the fight after that, it took him a few rounds to get rid of Joel Cordova. Some people were a bit annoyed, banking on the early knockout. It didn't happen. Then, of course, in his last fight against McWilliams Arroyo, it ended in a no contest because Arroyo, couldn't continue because of an accidental headbutt. Whether or not you believe him or if he was putting it on, we don't know. But he was also down himself in the first round, and that was a shock as well. So I'm not sure if kind of the in-your-face blow-for-blow style has burned him out a little bit, just a little bit. We're going to see, though. He's moving up a weight here, and he's getting in with Roman Gonzalez, who, again, some people thought was way over the hill 6 years ago, but seems to be pulling out brilliant performances again. He's found some kind of second wind in his career, and he can really punch as well. So it's going to be very interesting. You've got to watch that fight and pay respect, really, to the little men there at Super Flyweight. But that is it, though, for the preview part of the show. In part one, we did the review part. It was quite long. I'm apologising now if it was a bit too long for you. I do apologise. I just had to make myself clear about the Catterall Taylor stuff. Then we welcomed our special guest, which of course is former super lightweight WBA world champion Regis Prograis. And then in part two, we did the news, and I've just wrapped up the preview part there. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 333 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A big thank you to our special guest on this week's show, the former WBA Super-Lightweight World Champion Regis Prograis. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners, once again. I do just want to throw in a quick side note. The interview with Regis was recorded about 10 days ago, so that's why nothing got mentioned about Josh Taylor's fight at the weekend, and I'm annoyed now, of course, because I would have loved to hear his opinion on it, but I guess I just never really gave Catterall a chance, and therefore didn't see any problem with holding back the interview for a week when I wasn't sure who to get on as a guest. So apologies for that, but yeah, that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people, stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.